But I want to start tonight with the ripple effects of Trump's war in Iran that are already being felt right here at home. Every single person, every one of you, I'm sure, watching right now is probably feeling them. Because today the stock market took another nosedive as Trump's war continues to push the price of oil higher. And most importantly, gas prices have already jumped nearly 60 cents a gallon since Trump started this war less than 2 weeks ago. And there is every indication they will climb higher still. All of that appears to be why Trump and his conservative allies in Congress and the media have adopted a new rhyming slogan. They love to rhyme to convince Americans to tough it out.
This is a short-term disruption for the long-term gain.
There's going to be some short-term pain, but I can assure you it's going to be for the benefit of the long-term gain.
He's willing to take the short-term pain in order to realize a long-term gain.
So this is short-term pain, a long-term gain.
People will recognize that this was a short-term cost.
Short-term pain.
A short-term pain.
Some short-term pain. You've got to go through short-term pain.
A bit of short-term pain for the long-term gain.
I have a feeling some sort of evil bat signal was sent out that just said short-term pain, long-term gain out from the White House this morning, it seems like. I mean, that phrase really just makes you want to pay 60 cents a gallon more at the gas tank, doesn't it? Doesn't it? So it flows off the tongue. Now, the reason Trump officials and their media allies have suddenly started talking like some version of overcaffeinated Soul Cycle instructors is because they have no easy way to reverse the economic impact of this war. They can't bring down gas prices, at least really not anytime soon. And it all goes back to the fact that 20% of the world's oil supply runs through the Strait of Hormuz. You can see on the screen, we've talked about it quite a bit on the show, right off of Iran's southern coast. If ships can't navigate through that vital waterway, it means less oil hits the markets, supply can't meet demand, and you get higher gas prices. That's why Iran's new hardline leader vowed today to keep the strait closed, effectively choking off the world from major oil suppliers for the foreseeable future. So this is shaping up to be a huge, enormous problem for the global oil markets and a huge problem when it comes to the price of gas. And there isn't an easy way to fix it, even when there are coordinated global efforts. I mean, for instance, the International Energy Agency, the IEA, an organization founded back in the 70s to organize emergency stockpiles of oil, is now saying that Trump's war in Iran has caused the largest oil supply disruption in history. Yesterday, the IEA announced it was flooding the market with oil, the biggest release of oil reserves ever that they've ever done. The hope, of course, was that by making more oil available, prices would start to come down. We'd start to see it when we're filling up our gas tanks. It didn't work. Oil prices continue to rise. And that's because even if the IEA, countries that are participating in it, released every drop of oil they have available, it would only amount to about 3 million barrels per day, or only about 1/5 of the 15 million barrels being lost, according to The Economist. In other words, there just isn't enough extra oil lying around to bring the price back down, to flood back into the market. The only way to do that is to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. But there isn't a good way to do that either. I mean, Trump, for his part, has tried to just pretend the problem doesn't exist. That's his way. He's repeatedly called on oil carriers to just show some guts and go through the strait anyway, without an escort. Here he was when asked about the situation in the Strait of Hormuz. Here's what he said just last night.
And now we're going to look very strongly at the straits. The straits are in great shape. We've knocked out all of their boats. They have some missiles, but not very many. I think we're in very good shape.
Are we now? I mean, boats aren't going through there. Oil is not going through there. He just said everything's fine. The straits are in great shape. Well, this was what it looked like last night when 2 oil tankers tried to, quote, show some guts. Both ships erupted in balls of fire after being attacked by Iran. So the strait is clearly, obviously, not in great shape, like Trump says. And just today, Trump's energy secretary ruled out military escorts for oil vessels trying to get through, saying that for now, even the U.S. Navy is not ready for it. And kind of for good reason. I mean, even though Donald Trump has been saying publicly that there are no reports of Iran laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz, U.S. officials told the New York Times that Iran is indeed laying deadly mines, which will only, of course, make it much harder to reopen safely. Not only that, but military analysts are also telling the Wall Street Journal that reopening the Strait of Hormuz could actually require a ground invasion to take control of the Iranian coastline. And remember, the new leader is saying he's not going to open it. So this is kind of a sticking point there. But again, a ground invasion, according to military analysts. So Donald Trump has dug himself and, frankly, really all of us into a deep, deep hole on this one. This would be a huge problem for any president, but is especially a big problem for Donald Trump. Because for the past year, maybe even longer than that, Trump has repeatedly pointed to gas prices as the one thing that had actually gotten more affordable during his tenure, even though he exaggerated how low they actually were.
Our policies have brought gas prices way down, and now at $2.37 a gallon. Right here in Corpus Christi, the price of gasoline is down to just less than, actually, now $2.30.
I was in Iowa last week, and it was $1.85 a gallon, and in some places, $1.99 a gallon.
So that was then, multiple times over. But now Trump is really going for it with quite the rebrand, claiming that actually, everyone, higher oil and gas prices might be a good thing. He said today, quote, "The United States is the largest oil producer in the world by far, so when oil prices go up, we make a lot of money." Now, the we in that sentence is obviously not you or your neighbors or really anyone paying a lot more when they fill up their gas tanks. It is big oil and gas CEOs who get rich off jacking up prices while everybody else pays more at the pump. But the White House was so proud of Trump's new baffling rationale that they actually reposted it from the official White House account. I love this detail. They even made a special custom graphic for it and everything. They really wanted to pretty it up, make sure everybody saw it, reshared it. So somehow in his wacky, completely off perception of his hold on public opinion, Trump thinks he can spend years insisting that low gas prices are the most important issue voters care about, and then just turn around and claim high oil and gas prices are actually great. Everyone, pay more at the pump. It's good. Oil and gas CEOs are making money. Feels good. Now, even the most MAGA-pilled, red hat-wearing cultists in his base are going to have a hard time swallowing that one. And it's not just the price of gas that Trump is driving up for everyday Americans. It's many more things. I mean, the Strait of Hormuz is also a key passageway for fertilizer. And fertilizer prices are now spiking for millions of farmers thanks to this war. Also, the Pentagon now tells Congress that the war has cost more than $11 billion of taxpayer money in just the first 6 days. And that number doesn't even include many of the costs associated with the operation, like the buildup of military hardware and personnel. That means we are spending nearly $2 billion a day, or really more than that, considering what that doesn't include, for Donald Trump's war of choice, with no telling when it will end.